Motherhood is a powerful thing. It is something we usually associate with love, instinct, and care. But what if I told you that sometimes nature does not follow the rules? Sometimes the most unexpected creatures take on the role of a mother. Think about it. A lioness nursing a baby antelope, a cat raising squirrels, a dolphin guiding a lost whale. These stories are not just rare, they completely change the way we see the animal kingdom. Because in a world that seems ruled by survival, there are moments of pure, unexplainable compassion. But why do animals adopt others, especially those outside their own species? Is it just a mistake, a glitch in instinct, or is it something deeper? Today we are diving into the most unbelievable real-life cases of adoption in the wild. Some of these stories will make you smile, others will leave you speechless, and a few will even change the way you think about motherhood itself. And trust me, you are not ready for the first story. It involves a ruthless predator, a fragile baby, and a bond that should have never existed. Lions are the ultimate hunters. They do not show mercy, they do not make friends with their food. But in the early 2000s, in the harsh deserts of Kenya, one lioness did something no one could explain. Her name was Kamunyak, and instead of killing baby oryxes, small, delicate antelopes, she adopted them. Yes, you heard that right. A lioness protecting her natural prey. She carried them gently in her mouth. She guarded them from other lions. She even let them snuggle close to her as if they were her own cubs. Wildlife experts were stunned. This went against everything they knew about lion behavior. But here is where it gets heartbreaking. Kamunyak could not feed the oryxes. She had no milk, and in the wild, survival is cruel. Without a mother of their own species, the babies never lived long. One by one, they were either taken by other predators or died of hunger. But Kamunyak did not stop. Over time, she adopted at least 6 different oryx calves. Each time, she tried to protect them. Each time, she failed. And yet, she kept trying. No one knows why she did it. Some believe she had lost her own cubs and was desperate to mother anything. Others think something deep inside her just saw a baby in need. Whatever the reason, Kamunyak became a symbol of unexpected love in the animal world. And believe it or not, she is not the only animal to break the rules of nature, because sometimes even a tiny farm animal can show the world what it means to be a mother. Chickens are not exactly famous for being open-minded. In a barnyard, a mother hen knows her own babies. She protects them, warms them, and keeps them close. But when a mother hen sat on a nest of eggs, she never expected what would hatch. Instead of baby chicks, out came ducklings. Little, waddling, web-footed ducklings. And the best part? She did not even flinch. This has happened many times on farms around the world. A mother hen, without question, accepts and raises ducklings as her own. She gathers them under her wings, leads them around the yard, and even tries to teach them how to scratch for food. But here is where things get hilarious. Ducklings do not think like chickens. One day, they discover water, and to a duck, water means one thing: swimming. Imagine the panic. A mother hen, flapping her wings, clucking in distress, trying to stop her babies from jumping into a pond. She has no idea they were born for this. She thinks they are drowning, and no matter how many times they swim happily, she never stops worrying. It is the ultimate proof that motherhood is not just about instinct. It is about love, even when you do not fully understand the ones you are raising. And this is not just something that happens in farmyards, because out in the wild, sometimes a mother's love can cross even more impossible barriers, like between predator and prey. And this next story is almost too incredible to believe. This sounds like something out of a fairy tale, but it really happened, and it might be the closest thing to the real-life Jungle Book. In the early 1600s, in the forests of India, villagers reported something shocking. A boy, wild, barefoot, covered in dirt, running with a pack of wolves. When hunters finally captured him, they could not believe their eyes. He moved on all fours. He did not speak. He snarled and growled instead of crying. And strangest of all, the wolves had protected him. Later stories emerged of wolves adopting abandoned human babies, treating them as part of the pack. They shared food. They defended them from threats. They even let them snuggle in their dens for warmth. Scientists have tried to explain it. Maybe it is a mother wolf's instinct to care for small, helpless creatures. Maybe human babies remind them of wolf pups. Or maybe, just maybe, animals sometimes show kindness that defies explanation. But wolves are not the only predators that have shocked the world with an act of compassion. Because because in the deep jungles, one of nature's most feared hunters did something unthinkable, something that left even scientists speechless. A leopard is a perfect predator, silent, powerful, deadly. In the wild, there are no second chances when a leopard attacks. But in India's Gir forest, one leopard did something that no one could believe. A group of researchers spotted a female leopard hunting in the trees. She had just caught her prey, a tiny baby monkey. But instead of eating it, she did something extraordinary. She picked it up, she cleaned it, she carried it gently in her mouth. And instead of ending its life, she cradled it like her own cub. For hours, she kept the baby monkey close. She nuzzled it, groomed it, and even let it climb on her. It was something no one had ever seen before, a predator showing pure affection for its prey. But nature is still nature. And as the night fell, the baby monkey, too young to survive without its real mother, did not make it. The next morning, something even stranger happened. The leopard sat quietly beside it. She did not eat it. She did not leave. She just stayed there, as if mourning. Why did she do it? No one knows. But it is a reminder that even in the wild, there are moments that do not make sense, moments that show something deeper. And trust me, this is just the beginning, because next, we are looking at another predator who broke the rules of nature, but this time, it was not in the jungle. It was right in someone's home. Dogs and cats are supposed to be enemies. That is what we have always been told. But in homes around the world, mother dogs are proving that love is stronger than instincts. There are countless cases of dogs adopting kittens as their own. And the most incredible part? Many of these dogs have never even had puppies. Take the story of Lilo, a husky who became famous for mothering an abandoned kitten named Rosie. Rosie was only a few days old, weak and barely hanging on. Her chances of survival were almost zero. That is, until Lilo stepped in. Lilo treated Rosie like a newborn pup. She let her snuggle close, kept her warm, and even licked her clean after every meal. Rosie began to recover. Day by day, she grew stronger. And before long, she was following Lilo everywhere, just like a puppy would. This kind of adoption happens more often than you might think. In many cases, mother dogs even start producing milk for their adopted kittens. Something that should not be possible. Scientists call it a hormonal response, but anyone who has witnessed it knows it is something much more powerful. And this kind of love is not just for cats and dogs, because sometimes even the most ordinary house pet can show a kind of motherhood that no one expects. We all know that cats love to hunt small animals, birds, mice, and yes, even squirrels. But sometimes a mother cat sees a tiny, helpless creature and does the unthinkable. She adopts it. One of the most famous cases happened in Mississippi. A family rescued a nest of baby squirrels that had fallen from a tree. They were too young to survive on their own, and the family had no idea how to care for them. Then they noticed their cat had just given birth. On a whim, they placed the tiny squirrels next to her newborn kittens. They expected her to reject them, but instead, she pulled them close, licking them as if they were her own. Within days, the baby squirrels were nursing alongside the kittens. The mother cat groomed them, cuddled them, and even carried them by the scruff of their necks. The strangest part? The squirrels started acting like kittens. They purred, they played, they curled up with their new siblings as if they had always been part of the litter. Stories like this happen all the time. Cats, with their strong maternal instincts, sometimes adopt animals they would normally hunt. It does not make sense, but then again, love rarely does. And it is not just land animals who show this kind of unexpected compassion, because deep in the ocean, something even more mysterious is happening. Dolphins are known for their intelligence. They work together, communicate, and even seem to understand emotions. But did you know they have been seen adopting other marine animals, even ones much larger than themselves? One of the most incredible cases happened off the coast of New Zealand. Researchers spotted a group of bottlenose dolphins swimming with an unusual companion. It was a baby pilot whale. This baby had lost its family, and in the vast ocean that meant certain death. But instead of leaving it behind, the dolphins took it in. They swam with it, protected it, and even seemed to teach it how to socialize. And this is not the only case. Dolphins have been seen guiding lost porpoises, helping stranded seals, and even playing with injured sea turtles as if comforting them. Why do they do this? Scientists are still trying to figure it out. Some believe dolphins have an instinct to help weaker animals. Others think it is because of their complex emotions, something we do not fully understand yet. But one thing is clear: dolphins have a kindness that goes beyond survival. And sometimes, even animals that are not supposed to be caring at all show a side of themselves that no one expects. Baboons are tough, social animals. They live in strict hierarchies, and every member of the group knows their place. But in South Africa, one young baboon did something that left researchers stunned. A wildlife photographer was observing a troop of baboons when he noticed something unusual. A young male baboon had taken in a baby bush baby, a tiny nocturnal primate. Normally, baboons do not take care of other species, and a bush baby is not just any animal. It is a small, delicate creature that would usually be seen as prey. But instead of harming it, the baboon held it close, grooming it and carrying it wherever he went. At one point, he even tucked it against his chest and rocked it, just like a mother with her baby. No one could explain it. Male baboons are not known for their nurturing side, even with their own species. So why did he do it? Maybe he was lonely. Maybe he just saw something helpless and decided to protect it. Whatever the reason, the bond between the baboon and the bush baby was real, and it shows that sometimes even the most unlikely animals can form a connection that no one can explain. And speaking of unlikely bonds, what if I told you that sometimes the most caring mothers are not even mothers at all? Goats and sheep may look similar, but they have very different personalities. Sheep are gentle and timid. Goats are curious and bold. But every now and then, a goat does something completely unexpected. Farmers have reported countless cases of motherless lambs being taken in by goats, and not just fed or tolerated, but fully protected. One famous case happened on a farm in Texas. A baby lamb lost its mother shortly after birth. It was weak and alone, but before the farmer could step in, an old goat took charge. She stood over the lamb, keeping it safe from other animals. When it tried to nurse, she let it. When it wandered too far, she gently nudged it back. Over time, the lamb grew strong, and even when it was old enough to join the rest of the flock, it never left the goat's side. This happens in the wild, too. Mountain goats have been seen caring for orphaned fawns. Domesticated goats have taken in puppies, piglets, even baby deer. Scientists say it might be a mix of hormones and instinct, but one thing is certain: love is not limited by species. It is something far more universal. And if you think that is incredible, wait until you hear about the next animal, because when it comes to caring for others, no species does it quite like this one. Elephants are known for their intelligence and deep emotions. They grieve their dead, form lifelong bonds, and even comfort each other in times of distress. But what happens when an elephant loses her own baby? In Kenya's Samburu National Reserve, researchers witnessed something extraordinary. A female elephant had lost her calf shortly after birth. The herd tried to comfort her, but the grief was overwhelming. Then something unexpected happened. A few days later, the same elephant was seen caring for an orphaned baby rhino. She stayed close to it, shielding it from the hot sun. She even used her trunk to guide it, just as she would her own calf. This kind of adoption is rare, but it is not the only case. In elephant sanctuaries, female elephants have been known to take in orphaned calves, even if they are not related. They protect them, teach them, and make sure they never feel alone. Why do elephants do this? Scientists believe it is because of their deep social bonds. They understand loss, they understand love, and when they see a baby in need, they do what comes naturally. They become a mother. But humans are not so different, because in our world, we do the same thing. We take in orphaned animals, raise them as our own, and form bonds that last a lifetime. People have been adopting animals for centuries, not just pets, but true orphans. Animals that had no chance of survival on their own. And sometimes, the connection goes deeper than anyone expects. Take the story of John Rendell and Anthony Bork, two men who bought a lion cub from a London department store in the 1960s. They named him Christian. Christian was not just a pet, he was family. They played with him, fed him, and even took him on walks around the city. But as he grew, they knew he needed a real home. So, they made a tough decision. They released him into the wild in Africa. A year later, they returned, hoping to see him one last time. Experts warned them that Christian would not remember them. But when he saw them, he ran straight into their arms. He hugged them, nuzzled them, and showed a level of love no one expected from a wild animal. This is just one example. Around the world, people have formed unbreakable bonds with animals they raised: chimps, bears, even wolves. It proves that love is not just something that belongs to humans. It is something that crosses species, and sometimes it goes even further, because believe it or not, history is filled with stories of animals adopting humans. The idea of an animal raising a human sounds like something from a myth, but in rare cases it has actually happened. One of the most famous stories is that of Marina Chapman. As a child in the 1950s, she was kidnapped and left alone in the Colombian jungle. With no way to survive, she should not have made it, but she did. And it was all because of a group of capuchin monkeys. She watched them carefully, learning how to find food and water. Over time, they accepted her. They did not harm her. Instead, they showed her how to climb trees, how to stay safe, and even how to groom herself. When she was finally found, she had forgotten how to speak. She only knew the ways of the jungle. It took years for her to adjust back to human life. This is not the only case. There are stories of wolves taking in abandoned children, of leopards carrying human babies to safety, of bears protecting lost hikers as if they were cubs. Why do animals do this? Maybe it is instinct, maybe it is something deeper, but whatever it is, it shows that compassion is not limited to one species. And that brings us to an even bigger question. What is really going on in an animal's mind when they choose to adopt? Scientists have spent years trying to understand why animals adopt others, especially those outside their own species. The truth is, no one has a perfect answer, but there are some theories. One possibility is a strong maternal instinct. Some animals, especially mammals, are wired to care for anything that looks like a baby. It is why dogs nurse kittens, why chickens sit on duck eggs, why elephants protect orphaned rhinos. Another theory is emotional intelligence. Some animals, like dolphins and elephants, seem to feel complex emotions. They recognize distress, they feel empathy, and sometimes they step in simply because they can. Then there is the idea of imprinting. A baby animal, if raised by a different species, sometimes believes it belongs to them. It is why ducklings follow humans, why lambs bond with goats, why some animals grow up with behaviors that do not match their species. But science can only explain so much, because at the end of the day, some things do not need a reason. Some things just are. And when we look at these incredible stories, we have to ask ourselves one final question. What can we learn from nature's most unexpected moms? When we think of the animal kingdom, we often imagine a world of survival. The strong live, the weak do not. But these stories show us something different. They show us that kindness is not a human invention, that love can exist in the most unexpected places, that sometimes the ones we think should be enemies turn out to be protectors. A lioness raising a baby antelope, a dog mothering kittens, a dolphin guiding a lost whale. These are not mistakes. They are reminders that care and compassion go beyond what we understand. So the next time someone tells you that animals are only driven by instinct, remember Camunyak, the lioness who tried to save the Oryxes. Remember Lilo, the husky who raised a kitten. Remember the baboon, the goat, the elephant, the monkey. Because in the end, nature has a lesson for us all. Love is not about blood. It is not about species. It is about seeing someone in need and choosing to care. And if animals can do that, then maybe, just maybe, there is hope for all of us.